Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today's Monday, September 18, 2023. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. A black Alabama high school band director tased and arrested by cops in front of students after they told him to stop playing music after the game. He and his attorney will join us to tell us what happened. Orlando police were used against some black patrons at the downtown restaurant DoveCote because they were taking too long to finish their food and drinks. We'll talk to two of those who got kicked out. Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, who has never hired an interim black head coach or black head coach, says he wants to see NFL teams increase minority ownership. I wonder if he's saying this after Jim Trotter named Jones in his discrimination lawsuit against the NFL. Plus, conservative Lauren Boebert gets kicked out of a Colorado theater for inappropriate behavior. But she's always talking about family values. Really? Really? And Jan Wenner, the founder of Rolling Stone, literally says he did not include any black artists in his new book because they are not articulate. Rolling Stone fires back, and he's been kicked off the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame board of directors. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. On the Black Star Network, let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time, and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on Go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, if you go to an HBCU game or even a black high school, there's a thing called the fifth quarter, and that's typically when the bands of both schools are playing music, sort of competing against one another. Well, in Alabama, that's what they were doing. And then police said they were trying to clear the stadium. They ordered both of the bands to stop playing music. One of them did, but then one of them did not. This took place on Thursday. Where a high school band director was allegedly tased. He was tased and arrested for refusing to stop playing. Birmingham's minor high school band director, Johnny Mims, was tased by officers and faces disorderly conduct, harassment, and resisting arrest charges for not stopping his band from playing after the game. Johnny Mims and his attorney, Wanda Lynn Govan, join us right now. All right, so glad to have both of you here. So, Johnny, walk us through. Game is over. Bands are playing. Is this common practice for your band and the opposing band?
Hi, Roland. Yes, this is a normal practice for bands, and it's across the country, for bands to get together and play, tunes after the game. A lot of the parents and fans of bands, look forward to the opportunity because there's opportunity to showcase just the bands at that particular time. And we were just doing what is just customary for bands to do around the country.
So how many songs normally are played, and how long do y'all normally play?
It depends. It depends on the two directors of both schools. Usually they'll get together and they'll be communicated ahead of time of how long that would be. A normal song will last no more than maybe 2.5 minutes. I would say 3 minutes is really pushing it. And just in this case, again, both directors got together and said, hey, we're going to do play a couple extra tunes after the game. We're just going to do 3 tunes because, of course, it's Thursday night and we want to get our kids home because we did have, a school following day. But that's the thing that the kids look forward to, is that opportunity to showcase what they've been working on all week.
So if you got 3 songs, let's say they go 2.5, 3 minutes each, 2 bands, we're talking a total of 18 minutes. How many songs had y'all played when the cops then approached you and said, stop playing music?
We both the other school and our school had at least, both schools had already played at least 2 tunes. So
y'all just had 1 song left?
We only have 1 song left.
Okay, so the police say they were trying to clear the stadium. Was that happening? And again, is this common practice? Did anybody communicate with them? Or so how did this thing escalate to you being tased?
Again, those particular things I can't, speculate on. I know, typically the football teams, usually the fifth quarters that happen when both football teams are usually on the field. We have those opportunities for those teams to get together. They'll usually pray or they'll kind of go over, some of the logistics or celebrate. And usually that's when the fifth quarter is happening. So you still have bodies in the stadium. You still had audience on both sides of the stadium that was listening to both bands. And so I'm not sure where, what the concern was about clearing out the stadium. But again, we were just doing what we customary do. We traveled from our school over to that school to, to perform, and both bands have been looking forward to, the opportunity to play against each other. And again, just provide good music. I mean, we work very, very hard, and so that's an opportunity for us to do those things.
All right, so again, this thing it escalates and then you get tased. Now, the other band, I saw a story where they said the other band stopped playing. Was that actually the case?
Now, I can't of course, speculate it because the other band was on the other side of the field. Of course, my back was to that band. So once we heard the music, stop, at that point, we thinking that they're done with their song, and then we're proceeding to play our final song. And so I can't speculate what happened on the side because, of course, they were all the way on the other side of the field, and my back was turned to the other school.
So what is interesting here, again, just how this thing just sort of escalated. And so I'm still trying to understand. So walk me through. You're directing the band. How many cops approach you? What are they saying to you? Do they physically grab you off the bandstand? I mean, what happens? We've seen that we showed a video a little bit earlier, was played again, where it was not really clear what happened here. So, what happened?
So again, both bands were trading tunes. Once we get a second song, the other band started playing, and then that's when we had an officer come up and say, "Hey, you guys need to leave." And again, that was communicated to my assistant director. By this time, I was up on the podium, which you can see in the video. When you see it, you'll see the podium right there in front, which is separated from where the students are, so that I can get up and see all of our students. And so, we were proceeding to go on and play our third song, as agreed upon by both of the directors from both schools, as we customarily do. So, we were told that we need to leave, and as we communicated, say, hey, this is our final song. We'll be leaving after that point, and that and if anything, that further allowed them to be able to clear out the stadium more as we get ready to come out of the stadium. And again, I was on the podium conducting their group before we can even get to the end of the song, which the officer at that time was pretty much yelling over the stand. As we get ready to try to cut off that last song, they cut the lights off us, and so as I was telling I'm a dark-skinned guy, and so if you cut the lights off, it's going to be very difficult for me to cue the students on how to cut off, for the song, because again, they can't see me. And by this time, officer was already coming up the podium to pull me down off the podium. And again, I was pretty much confused at this time, like, hey, what did I do? Like, what am I, what's the problem? What is going on? And remember, all this is happening in front of 145 students and parents, and countless other fans, again, who customarily see this happening. And so my logistics of everything, and to me, I still don't understand today why it should have escalated, because again, none of the songs we play along, that's something that the school that we attended, that's something they do on a weekend, on every week. And so I'm not sure why it escalated to the point it was. And again, my biggest thing was I was just trying as a citizen who does what he's supposed to do. I don't cause any trouble. Was trying to figure out why I was being harassed and pulled off the podium, which could have been a deadly thing, because I could have fell off the podium because it's a couple steps up. So that's was my biggest thing behind it. And I guess I don't know if I'm not know what their intentions was about, but I think it's definitely something that should have never happened.
Wanda Lynn, have you communicated with the police, but talked about their actions? Anything like that?
I have been in communication with the city attorney. First of all, thank you for having us on tonight, Roland. But I've been in communication with the city attorney, as well as the Alabama Education Association, parents, students, local pastors. And it's been a very long day, but one of the things that we've been doing, or I attempted to do, was gather as much information. I have asked that these officers and the sergeant, however, be placed on administrative leave, because regardless of what may have happened to begin this initiated this process, my client did absolutely nothing that would have warranted him being tased, treated like a dog in front of his students, One of the captions today, Roland, just from AL.com, one of the local newspapers here, simply read, "in front of the students." In front of the students. I think it's deplorable, especially with us coming off the heels of the Tyree Nichols situation, to see how he was tased by officers just right up the street in Memphis, Tennessee. But I think this is a situation in which the officers, first of all, should never have approached my client. They should never engage in home rule with regards to the field of play or with the bands. That's number one. It was out of their authority to do so, to cut the lights off at the stadium while fans were present, while family members or families, as well as the students was there. And I just couldn't even imagine being in that situation on last Thursday. I feel that my client's rights have been violated, and we're going to pursue further actions against the city of Birmingham. But I do believe that these officers should be placed on administrative leave effective immediately.
But is there a standard procedure, for this? So, for instance, you have athletic leagues that regulate games along those lines. I mean, how do you make sure that this doesn't happen again? That way you leave it up to an officer. So I understand band directors making making a decision, communicating beforehand. But to me, if this is common practice, it should be established that just like the game is 4 quarters, if you're going to have this, it should be established that after the game, the bands are going to engage in 3 songs each. It won't last total more than 20 minutes. That way you don't have these subjective decisions by these cops. Are you going to propose that be clearly stipulated by the school district?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because the band directors had already communicated in this instance, number one. They had already made the decision to have the fifth quarter. But my concern, Roland, is the actions of the officers, the excessiveness of the process. They should have been in a position on last Thursday to bring about a point of de-escalation. This right here was an overreach by those officers to purposely handcuff my client, tase him multiple times, basically throwing him to the ground. He ultimately ended up at the hospital. This was a matter of the police of Birmingham, police officers and the police force of Birmingham overstepping their bounds. This has never happened before, and it never should have happened this time, but I wholeheartedly agree with you. There should be standards that are written and put in place, but I am more concerned about the violation of home rule. There was no life, limb, or anything in jeopardy with regards to public safety. This is bad policing 101 here in the city of Birmingham, which has one of the highest crime rates, murder rates in the country. We just lost a Birmingham firefighter who was killed in the line of duty at the fire station. They've not yet identified the person who's killed them. Every day, Birmingham has 3 or 4 murders per day. Here now, it's become such a common thing that the mayor doesn't even speak on it anymore. Nobody even talks about it. But yet you would take this man, a learned professional in his craft, and basically tase him to the ground, and to the point he has to be taken to the police officer. It is an embarrassment to the sport. It's an embarrassment to those who participate in the craft of being in the bands. We all know that's what the fans come to the game for most of the time, to hear the music, to see the kids, or whether it's on the collegiate level or what have you. But this instance right here, you've seen the video rolling. You've looked at it enough. I will go tomorrow and look at the body cam. But this, regardless of what happened, what are you charging him with? You should charge him with what you first stopped him for, and that's not a part of the charges. And the reason why is there was no justification for it.
All right, then. We follow the case to see what happens next. Wanderlei and Johnny, we shall appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, got to go to break. We'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. You're watching on YouTube. Hit that like button, folks. Also, become a member of our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars are critical for us to do the work that we do. Send your check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes. Producer, writer, and activist Drew Dixon joins us for an honest conversation about Black women and trauma, right here on The Frequency on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and on the next Get Wealthy, you'll meet Jandy Turner, who took her love of sports, expanded her network, and created a thriving business.
I settled on developing a golf event planning business, which in and of itself has been very viable for me. One of the things that I've learned from producing hundreds, if not thousands, of golf tournaments is that business gets done on the golf course.
All on The Next Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
This is Essence Atkins.
Mr. Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you watch.
You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, time for our panel. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, economist, author, President Emerita Bennett College out of D.C., Dr. Amakongo Dabinga, senior professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University, also out of D.C., out of Georgia, out of Atlanta. Rita Shannon, former Georgia State Representative. Glad to have all three of you here. We talk about this constantly, Amakongo, and what I'm trying to understand is from the cops perspective, it was Bain's plan. You tase a band director. I'm just trying to understand, is it that serious to literally physically take down a band director and tase them because they were playing music?
And the short answer, the quick answer is absolutely not. And this is what happens when we continually have situations where law enforcement, police officers are interacting with people just doing their basic work. Their police should have no involvement with any school activities. I mean, if you're there, in terms of breaking up things like a fight or something like that, like a brawl that breaks out or something, but, interacting with the band director like that, he said he could have hurt himself because when the lights went out and the stage that he was on, and as that article said that the lawyer talked about, in front of the kids. I mean, how many instances do we have to see where kids are traumatized for events that they're not a part of, but they have to just witness? And you have people out there who are saying, well, I think the police showed a great deal of restraint. At least he wasn't shot. Like, is that supposed to be our standard right now? The guy, we got to walk away. We got to walk away without a bullet in our spine, and we just want to call it a day. Dave, these officers need to be held responsible. And I don't know if there was a situation where the police were already there for security or if somebody called the police in. But these interactions with officers and people, but Black people in particular, just doing their everyday job, not robbing a store, not getting in a fight and arrest, just doing their everyday job. This is where we are seeing serious instances that could have turned out a lot more violent than this. So I'm going to sit there and say, yeah, I'm glad he wasn't shot, but that's not my standard. My standard is officers behaving properly and not traumatizing our children. They have to come back to school this week and deal with this and be in fear over something that should have never happened.
I guess for me, Julian, if you're the cop, you're like, again, this is how I still look at it. We've given you an order, stop playing, we need to clear the stadium. And you ignore the order. And we've told you, hey, we've already told the other band, stop playing, we have to clear the stadium. Now, if the band director wants to keep playing, that's when you the cops, you go, y'all hold on 1 second. When his ass get done, he getting arrested. And then that's what you do. You politely say, you disobeyed police orders. We told you multiple times. You chose to ignore us. You're under arrest. You do it very calmly. No need to tase, any of that. Now, that's on him.
Roland, first of all, there's an issue of context. The brother said that the lights went out. That meant that the people could not see him. So if he was trying to band direct whatever with the lights out, he could not have gotten the young people to stop playing the music because they were doing what they do and nobody told them to stop. The decent thing for the police to do, but I use words decent and police mistakenly, but the decent thing to have been done is to let them finish the song. They were going to finish the song and either, as you say, arrest them on the way out or talk to them on the way out. Dude, we asked you to stop. Why didn't you stop? And he could then have said, it was dark, I could not direct my band, and they could not see me. These police have a bad habit of jumping to conclusions, especially when Black people are involved. There's no such thing as the, quote, benefit of the doubt. There's no such thing. And I'm trying to place myself in that stadium. At the end of a game, there usually is a fifth quarter, especially in the South where they love their bands. And so people continue to play. They wind down. They're not going to stay there all night. It was indeed a school night. So what was the harm of letting them finish? And I'm just thinking about what else was going on. Have people really been clearing the stadium? Usually after a game, you and I both know, people sit around and they chitty chat. Oh, they beat their butts or whatever. No one is rushing out of the stadium. They're moving in an orderly, probably slow fashion. And what's wrong with that? I think these police officers totally overreacted. And the sister, the attorney, they should be placed on immediate administrative leave. There should be an investigation. And as Owakongo has said, these are young people who have been traumatized. They saw their leader essentially humiliated, essentially tased and taken to the hospital. What should they hope would ever happen to them?
Well, see, the thing for me, Renita, is that, again, when the cops do these things, they end up costing taxpayers not money. And again, if they really felt that he was in the wrong, this is all you got to do. Y'all, just wait. When he get done, we're going to arrest him. This is the thing that I'm constantly saying. Too many cops, because they got a badge, because they got a gun, they escalate. The de-escalation would have been, okay, you want to keep disobeying us, not a problem. Go ahead and finish y'all little song. I'm going to deal with you in 3 minutes. Now, he could still be upset that he got arrested, but what you haven't done is you haven't tased him, you haven't acted a damn fool, and you did it very calmly, and then you go to court, and it's very simple. Your Honor, DA, whatever, we expressly told him multiple times. Got body camera footage, but that's the thing. Most of these cops, they don't remain calm. They show their asses.
Well, and I disagree. De-escalation looks like just letting the man play the song. He should not have been arrested for anything that we...
No, that's my point. That is de-escalation. But what I'm saying, though, is...
de-escalation to have arrested him at all. What I'm saying is the problem is police officers with this attitude of, if you don't do what I say, that in itself is a massive crime, and we're going to use whatever force against you. What was the problem with just letting them play the one song? Process or no process, what should have happened here is police should have said, okay, they asked him to leave, and he didn't. All they had to do was let the school know, because this band superintendent, this band director was from the visiting team, not the home team. So the home team band had already left. So if this really is a problem of them overstaying their welcome, this is something that could have been handled the next day between the two principals to say, hey, we'd like to shut down our field immediately after the game or within 5 minutes. You all overstayed your welcome. Please don't do that again. This is something that did not require any sort of arrest. And it's just even more disappointing to me that once again we see Black police officers being involved in doing the brutalizing, which is exactly what we saw with Tyree Nichols. So I just think that we have to get away from this culture, which is very similar to Jim Crow of, hey, Black people, if you do not do what I say, even in situations where it doesn't even matter, like this one. I mean, it wasn't like the guy was robbing a house. He was playing a song, then we're going to brutalize you and arrest you. Because honestly, I would have been upset even if they had arrested him. Because what is the problem? They're playing a song. This was not some sort of public safety issue where if they didn't leave immediately, people were going to be at risk. It's just escalation for no reason.
Yeah, and again, there's a way you can handle this thing. And a way to handle this thing is very simple in terms of if you do not have an established procedure, if you don't have any of that, it's clear that that's what was needed. It's clear that, you know what, we need to have this so we know how to operate and move in the future. To me, I don't understand it. I don't get why they chose to take this course of action. And it's probably going to cost the city a lot of money. And I'm sure Mayor Randall Woodford is like, what the hell? Why am I having to deal with this nonsense right now? All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. Got to go to a break. We come back. Lots of stuff we want to talk about. Jan Wenner, founder of Rolling Stone, showing he's a racist asshole. He literally said that, yeah, I'd include any blacks in my new book because they simply don't know how to articulate. Really? Now he's apologizing. Now he's apologizing. Also, Jerry Jones says he will walk across Texas in order to help minorities become owners in the NFL. After he was named in a lawsuit by Jim Trotter, a former black reporter of NFL Network. Kind of timely, Jerry, kind of timely. We'll discuss all of that right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance.
We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're going to be talking about common sense. We think that people have it, know how to use it, but it is something that people often have to learn. The truth is, most of us are not born with it, and we need to teach common sense, embrace it, and give it to those who need it most, our kids.
So I always tell teachers to listen out to what conversations the students are having about what they're getting from social media, and then let's get ahead of it and have the appropriate conversations with them.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Frank.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, ain't this timely? Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, one of the owners named in Jim Trotter's discrimination lawsuit against the NFL, now says that, you know what, there should be more minorities who are owners in the NFL. Now remember, this is what Jim Trotter quoted Jerry Jones as saying in his lawsuit, quote, "If blacks feel some kind of way, they should buy their own team and hire who they want to hire." Now Jones is singing a different tune. He made some comments to reporters about what he would do and how he is going to work to get more minority owners. Keep in mind, the Washington Post did a big old story on him a few months ago. And, you know, Jerry Jones is literally he is arguably the most influential NFL owner. And he also, huge Republican, conservative, one of those folks who was full of crap when it came to Colin Kaepernick, so-called standing with his players. We all know now that was nothing but a PR move. And so now Jones, and he's still denying that he was somehow involved, that he made this comment just the other day, but that's what you're seeing. Now, here's the thing that's also interesting. Jerry Jones, when he was asked about this, he talked about how, oh my goodness, it was just so difficult for him, to buy the team, and you know he really couldn't afford it. And then actually what he said is he would carry Magic Johnson piggyback, walk across Texas to get more black NFL owners. Let me see if I can pull this story up about in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Let me see right here. Here is the, give me 1 second. I just want to show y'all. Here we go. Let me find this comment. So go to my iPad. In this piece, they're talking about the fact that the NFL has no black majority owners among its 32 teams, only 3 black head coaches, 60% of the league black. Spent a lot of time talking to them, showing them and talking to them about how they could get in the NFL, Jerry Jones told Clarence Jones of the Star-Telegram. Multiple ways to address inequity, multiple ways to go do it. And certainly I would think about one way to try to work to get ownership improved in the minority area. And I'm all for it, and I do it. I work at it. First of all, this quote don't make no sense whatsoever. Don't make any sense whatsoever, okay? Makes no sense. Now, again, this is the article. Go back to it. Jones understands the financial hurdles that have impacted blacks from gaining ownership, most notably the rising cost of NFL franchises and league rule that a majority must put down 30% of the cost. Nobody got in on a wing and a prayer any more than I did, and I really couldn't afford it. But I got into it, and as we look and see, we do see the qualified potential buyers out here that can get involved, and that's one way. You know the financial hurdles for everything that's gone up, but percentage-wise, there are qualified people out here. If they aren't here this minute, they're on their way, because that's what's happening in this country. And many of the people that recently have gotten involved in the NFL might not have been able to do it 20 years ago. So continuing to share thoughts and ideas with other people about being involved and from the ownership is something that I can speak to. He brings up Magic Johnson. Of course, he was a part of the Washington Commanders ownership. He goes, quote, Magic is a great ambassador, and I carry him piggyback to get him in the NFL. Jones says it's very important to have continued dialogue and discussions about diversifying the NFL's ownership rules, ranks, and believes his comments to Trotter were misrepresented. It's very important. We want that. We work at it. Really, that was the intent. My intent when we were talking, and I regret that with Jim, I do. I really do, because he's a friend. I love the National Football League. I love football. And if we can improve it by having people that aren't in ownership today in ownership, I'll walk across Texas to do it. Julian, anybody reading those comments, listening to those comments, would likely say, that's some bullshit. I'm working at it. I'm working at it. No, I really do. It's important. Boy, bye.
The man sounds unhinged.
Boy, bye.
He sounds totally unhinged.
No, he sounds defensive.
But also unhinged, because the stuff that what he's saying does not make any sense. Yes, he sounds extremely defensive, but I mean, also disconnected. And the visual of him carrying Magic piggyback anywhere, just has to make you totally crack up. The fact is that this man was a racist, is a racist, is going to be a racist. He's saying the right things because he's in a lawsuit, and he has to say the right things. We know what the structure of the NFL is. We know how challenging it's been, first of all, just to get head coaches, not to mention ownership. And so give me a break. If they want to do something from an economic perspective to make sure that there is African-American ownership, there are a number of things they could do. Qualified African Americans could get loans from the NFL at a subsidized interest rate to buy in. Of course, there'd be a vetting process. That's one thing they can do. We've seen things like that done in the past. Or they could relax their rules so that there could be a larger consortium of African Americans, because now these teams are going for $5-6 billion. You know, when he says it's going to happen soon, he's waiting for the black billionaire, and the black billionaire may not want to be the one to spend his money on an NFL franchise. I mean, some of y'all go crazy over the NFL. I don't give a whatever. But what I do care about is the equity piece of this, and the fact that this aspect, I mean, he just seems unhinged.
Well, I want us, Omakongo, to understand a few things. And what I want us to understand here is that, and people don't, I think, fully get it. Roger Goodell is the commissioner of the NFL. Roger Goodell is an employee. He can make $50 million. He is an employee. The people that run the NFL are the 32 owners.
Yep.
And what Jerry is trying to do here, and this is key, Jim's lawsuit talks about not just ownership. Jim's lawsuit talks about lack of black executives in the NFL, lack of black executives at the NFL network. And so, and this is why I want people to understand, don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Jerry wants us to now reverse field and go, oh, here's what Jerry is going to do for owners. The quote that Jim quoted him was, if y'all want to see some changes, go get your own owners, and then they can go hire who they want to hire. Mm-hmm. So Jerry knows there are not going to be any black NFL owners. He knows this. Y'all, the Commanders, the Broncos, NFL franchises are now going for $5 and $6 billion. Let's just say $5 billion, okay? You got to put up 30%. That means you, black man, black woman, you by yourself, you got to put up or show $1.5 billion.
Yep.
He knows the game. Nah, Jerry. You don't want to deal with what Jim talked about is y'all are unwilling to hire black people as team presidents, as general managers, as heads of player personnel, as head coaches, and in the front office of the NFL.
And that's primarily led by Jones. I mean, this man is so slick. I mean, when you were talking about Kaepernick and the whole thing with the knee, he was slick to make sure that he took a knee with the team before the anthem was played, but then at the same time said, no one will put a knee down and still stay on my team. He's very good at performative statements and comments. As one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful owner in the NFL, he clearly had the ability and the wherewithal to put an infrastructure in place to start to lead towards any type of black ownership. The only non-white ownership is with the Panthers, with the Khan, couple. When we see that, and so with Jerry Jones, and also that lawsuit also has stories of so many other racist statements that he said, and the Buffalo Bills owner, allegedly saying, go back to Africa if you don't want to play. And so this stuff is about to really hit the fan. And I think Jerry Jones knows that some of these things that have been said about him and alleged in this lawsuit, I think some of them are going to come out and be proven to be true. And so he's trying to get ahead of it by saying that he's always been about this. But like you said when you started the show tonight, never had a black coach and never had, the leadership at different levels. So he has never been about it, but he understands in our society now, especially after they found him in that rally, back in the days in the civil rights movement, he was on the wrong side of that rally. He's been very good at putting out little snippets that he knows the media is going to run with, because most of these networks are not doing in-depth conversations and in-depth fact-checking on calling out his entire history. He could have been put a system in place for black ownership, but he knows that this will rule the day for a few days, a few hours. We're not going to let it go, but he knows that the main folks, ESPN and all of these guys, they're going to let it go. But I'm glad this lawsuit is out, because a lot of these people are finally being called out for so many of their racist tendencies for decades, probably led by Jones.
Renita, we ain't falling for that banana in the tailpipe. Bottom line is, Jerry, you ain't escaping this. First of all, Khan's the owner of the Jaguars, not the Panthers. But two, the reason he can't escape is they can't force Jim Trotter to go to arbitration or mediation. They want this to go to court. They can do it with coaches and players. They can't do it with Jim Trotter being a reporter for the NFL Network.
Well, and so I don't support the NFL because there's just too many problematic things about the NFL that I just can't bring myself to support the NFL. But y'all correct me if I'm wrong on this. I seem to remember about a decade ago where the cost of purchasing or buying into an NFL or owning an NFL team was not what it was today. And so there were actually black people who had the money and could qualify to purchase these teams, and they were just not being let in for some reason that, was not being actually told to them as to why they were not being allowed to purchase. Did that happen or no? Because that's what I thought I remember. No, that wasn't the case.
No, because even then, could nobody black afford to get an NFL franchise?
Okay, because his comment really just sounds kind of condescending, where he's saying, well, some parts of it, he's saying, well, there's black people who are working up to this amount who might be able to afford it. And then, of course, the carrying Magic Johnson on his back, piggyback. I mean, I would like to see if there's going to be a response from Magic Johnson to him saying this, because all of it, the entire comment was condescending.
Nope.
And we know what his original comments were. And I think that his original comments are how he really feels. And he's just trying to walk it back.
Nope. You're not going to see a Magic comment, especially now that he is, even as a minority owner, in the NFL club. Trust me, you're not going to hear anything being said. All right, y'all, hold on tight 1 second. We come back. What's it like being black at a restaurant? You chilling, you eating, you drinking. Then the restaurant like, hey, y'all got to hurry the hell up. And they call the cops. It actually happened. We'll talk to two of those black folks next, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
All change is not growth.
Right.
But thoughtful change is real good fertilizer. And that's what has been so beneficial to us.
But you also were not afraid of the pivot.
Well, and I'm a black woman in business. Come on, I don't care how I dress up. I don't care who I'm speaking with. I don't care what part of the world I am in. I still am a black woman in business. Being afraid of the pivot, being fearful of change is not what got me here. Respectful of change. Respectful of pivot, yeah. Fearful, no, no.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. What do Deion Sanders, a lawnmower, and the phenomenon of invisible labor all have in common? They're all now part of, shall we say, a colorful lore at our historically black colleges and universities. Our Master Educator Roundtable convenes to explain it all as we explore the good, the bad, and the downright ugly of one of Black America's national treasures. That's next on the Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
This is your boy, Earthquake.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Y'all, Saturday night, you and some friends are meeting up for dinner and checking out some jazz entertainment. You're enjoying the evening. You're still ordering drinks. All of a sudden, they say, yo, y'all have to go. Y'all taking way too long. That actually happened to a group of black folks eating at a restaurant called DoveCote in downtown Orlando. The manager, Kyle Tased, called the cops on a party of 5 to have them removed. Another patron left a review on Google and said they were told the cops were called because the black folks refused to pay their $600 bill, which actually had been paid. Yeah, straight up. Now, pull a video up, y'all. I need to hear the audio.
I'm just letting you know, I mean, it is what it is. We can't really do what they want to because it's private property, but...
Guys, I don't understand.
Completely understand, but to let you know that we haven't done anything other than sit here, enjoy our meal, pay whatever is due, and just have a good evening.
I got you. I don't blame you.
He stopped our drinks from coming over. Oh, did he? Yeah, I'm watching it. Okay.
They said that they canceled the drinks, so you don't have to pay for any of that, but they canceled the order, so there's nothing more, like, the thing that y'all are owed that's outstanding. They said they canceled.
Okay.
I mean, if anything, what I would do, if I were you guys, I would bring it higher to him. Just call on Monday, or when it's tomorrow, it's probably Sunday, he might not have a manager. Call on Monday and go higher than him. That's what I would do, because they want you trespass right now, and it's better to honestly leave before it's on paper, then you can't ever come back. Don't know if you ever would.
We'll never come back.
Yeah. But you get what I'm saying. But I would call and ask for like a manager.
I tell you what, and I get it. Go ahead and trespass. Well, trespass me because I don't want to come back, but I want to have that documentation of what they've done.
I'll see if they want to come
Everybody else just enjoying the meal? Does that make sense?
But either way, we can
I'm going to go ahead and trespass me because I want to have it on documentation because I will take this a little bit further than what we're dealing with right here.
Well, even if
everybody else don't have to.
But even if we don't get that on paper, I'll give you the case number. And if you guys want to get this pulled, it's public record. So that instead of getting it on paper and all that, because then that goes into like city records and stuff.
Going higher is his daddy.
You what?
Going higher is his daddy.
I'll take it. I mean, I deal with everybody. No. My thing is that I'm in good with the mayor's office.
everything else. There's a lot of volunteer stuff that I do. He doesn't understand the position that I have and what he's done. I will definitely bring this up very quickly.
That's your best. So whatever footage you have, course of action.
Right.
That's your best way to go about it.
Yeah.
And I always tell people
he didn't even try to come talk to us. He said, if you don't leave him, call the cops. And again, that is weaponized. Again, come on, in this day and age, it truly is weaponizing the cops.
Honestly, that's really good. Have you been recording like since you?
All right, folks, joining us right now is Leon Gant and Stephanie Tolbert. Both of them were two of those folks kicked out. Glad to have both of you on the show. First off, Leon and Stephanie, so how many of y'all were actually at the restaurant?
There were 5 of us, Roland. Leon and his wife, Heather, and Kevin Ballinger and his wife, Kendra, and then myself. And I made this reservation about a month ago on Open Table, and I did it because this group, Take 5, was going to be there, and that's how I found the venue. And nowhere on the Open Table site, nowhere on the restaurant site was there any notification or documentation of a time limit on how long we could dine. And so we were never told that when the hostess took us to our table, when the waiter took our order, we were never given any kind of timeline. So this was just a surprise.
So they claimed there was a time limit.
Roland, we were never given any type of time
No. I'm saying this. I'm just trying to understand. Are they claiming that there's a time limit for each table?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So have you seen that was it on the door? Was it on a stand at check-in? Was it on the menu? So was it posted anywhere that there was a so-called time limit?
No, sir. No time limit. Not posted, not told to us.
Gotcha. How long were y'all there?
For the time when they first started to come and try to usher us out, maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half.
Okay. So this restaurant y'all were at, they had live entertainment?
Yes, sir.
So typically, I mean, I've been to a lot of places where they actually have live entertainment. And when they do, you're like there for a while. You're like 2.5, 3 hours because of live entertainment.
Right.
This, I am perplexed. Now, we did reach out to the owner, and we sent them an email. Carol, the owner is Rob. That's who this is? Okay, so he said, Ms. Gant, can you please provide me with the name and phone numbers of the guests who were part of this group from Saturday night? The 2 gentlemen in the video in particular, I would like to call them personally to understand what happened and have a cordial, polite conversation to discuss their concerns. Thank you for your consideration. So that's what he sent to us. Had y'all heard from him?
Not at all.
Not at all.
What communication have y'all had with, has anyone contacted the owner?
No. The only contact we had was with the owner's son, and he was the one who led the charge in getting us escorted out by the police.
So were y'all actually escorted out?
Well, I can tell you this, Roland. The police were very cordial. They were very nice. They even said to us that we will walk out first so that it doesn't seem like we are escorting you out. However, because this is a private organization, we had to leave. But they were very nice. They said that we will walk out first so it doesn't seem like we are actually escorting you out.
I'm just, I mean, again, and let me look. I know of some restaurants that are extremely busy, where they have reservations, and they flip those tables. And I know some places, like I say, that are highly successful restaurants that actually do this. But what's crazy to me is for a manager to say this and you literally have it nowhere posted anywhere, and it seems as if you just sort of made it up. And the other thing is this here. There are date stamps on receipts. When those waiters put orders in, there's a time stamp on it. So y'all are able to show from the moment an order was placed and to when you get your receipt, how long you were there.
Yes. Yes.
What's your plan going forward?
I can tell you this. First of all, it's an honor being on your show. So thank you very much for covering this. What I have done, I reached out to some of the contacts that I have here in Orlando, and they're giving me a list of attorneys that I'm going to contact. I also have some connections into the mayor's office, and I know of one very good friend who's in charge of the discrimination department for Orlando. I've already sent her an email. I'm sure she's going to get back to me tonight. But for me, the end result is I would like a formal apology, number one. I would like our money returned. And then, because I have my mom here, and I was talking to my mom about, again, she grew up in Alabama and Jim Crow, and explaining this to her. And she was like, you know what, they really just tried to take your dignity. So what is the price of your dignity? And really, there is no price on that. But I truly, I want to make it painful for them. For, again, you're talking about 5 professionals, 4 of them Black, successful, and just that humiliation, embarrassment. And later we found out that manager's son went around and told everybody that we were being escorted out because we couldn't pay our bill. So
wow.
Yeah.
It was just very humiliating, Roland. I mean, at the end of the day, when we walked out to wait for the valet for the car, there was another family that had been approached by the event coordinator that they needed to leave as well. And we didn't get them on camera, but so this isn't something that was just isolated to us. There were some other Black families that were impacted, and they were celebrating their dad, the husband's birthday. It was just no excuse.
Again, we deal with these stories all the time. And unfortunately, this is what I always say, it is the reality of what it means to be Black in America. Keep us apprised of this case and what happens next. And Carol, my producer, will be sure to forward y'all Rob's email and phone number, the owner, so y'all can have that conversation.
Awesome. Roland, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. You know, Renita, we do these stories all the time. And it's just, and this is what people don't understand. It's hard being Black in this country, and you just trying to go enjoy a meal and some damn jazz, and you still got to deal with some BS.
Absolutely. The point you're making is a point that everybody should see from this, which is that Black people in society always have to be on guard. You can't even just go out to dinner and enjoy jazz music because you run the risk of being put out of a restaurant because you are Black. This also makes the point of why Black media is so important. I'm glad you're covering this story because I have not seen this covered by any other news outlet. And if it were not for this show, I think a lot of people would not be even aware that this had happened. And you heard the two, the folks who you were just interviewing, they said that another Black family was put out. So this is like a pattern. I think kudos to the police. They handled the situation exactly the way that they should have. They did not escalate. They understood that, you know, they should not have been called out for this. And they tried to keep things very fair, giving them the opportunity to make sure that they were not even embarrassed by this incident. And so I think that, you know, the point you made earlier about with there being live music, when you have live music, that encourages people to sort of hang around, and that turns your restaurant into a little bit of a hangout place. And so nothing about this story really makes any sense as to why they were asked to leave, because typically restaurants that have a time limit of how long you can stay, they tell you that up front when you make the reservation. They tell you that when you sit down. And as you heard from the guests, they said that they were not informed of any of that, and we know why they were asked to leave.
Congo.
This is going to escalate for many reasons, but one of the things that I'm thinking, because it's Florida and what's going on in the country, like the brother said to the cops, in this day and age, this is what you're doing. This is, Ron DeSantis stand, right? And people are going to take advantage of this to add to their propaganda machine. They're going to say, oh, we're pro-police, we're pro, they're going to take this to a level that it doesn't need to go to because they have nothing else to stand on. And that's why it's really important that we are covering this, because they're going to need our support. That media machine, those politicians down there, I'm assuming that the owners of this restaurant are kind of well connected with these types of people to feel like they can get away with something like this. So yeah, I applaud the police, but I also applaud that group of 5 people in keeping their calm in situations like that, because like you said, being Black every day in America, we deal with so much, and sometimes we just had it, and we know what the consequences can be, but it's just too much. And so they kept their composure in that particular situation. I'm very happy that the right cops showed up. Cops with de-escalation training, kept their hands on their, vest the entire time, because all it could have taken, I think there were about 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 cops there rolling. All it could have taken was one wrong cop, and we could have had a situation just like we were talking about in the Alabama story at the beginning of the show. And so I'm grateful on all of those fronts, but we shouldn't have to just be grateful for that.
You know what, Julian, there's some people, I see the comments, they're like, well, why we always be the calm one? But see, this is one of those situations why you sit there and you say, you know what, we're going to be real calm because y'all ass is going to be cutting a check.
I have a notoriously bad temper. And
No, really?
Yeah, really. And so I was talking with my therapist actually, it was about a year ago, because something occurred on my campus and I kept my cool. And because she said, when you go off on people, you become the story. When you walk away, they become the story. And actually, one of my colleagues asked me at a brunch if I ordered the fried chicken. And I was about that far from going off. Instead, I was just like, do you know that the provost's office ordered the food? Then the food comes back with, but I saw you eating fried chicken. So I just put my hand up and walked away. But then when I was coming to Congressional Black Caucus, it was right before caucus, I was on the red eye and I was crying. I mean, I wasn't crying, sobbing, but tears were rolling down my face. And I said to myself, girl, what's going on? Went and looked in the mirror and said, you mad because you didn't go off on that Maryland farmer. So I ended up coming to my house in D.C. and writing that fool an 800-word memo that tore him about 5 new ones. I said, who are you? Buzzy Zoller, and I'm Tiger Woods. Dr. Meyer says, when people tell you who they are, believe them. Oh, I went on. It was vintage. That was on a Wednesday. He quit on Friday. In the middle, HR had called. Everybody had called. But I don't like being the calm one, but sometimes the calm one is much more effective. So this brother, the 2 that you interviewed, they were perfect. But these are Black professionals who are used to going out on the town, listening to some music and just kicking back. I've been to restaurants that have a time limit, but they tell you when you sit down, the next seating is at 8 o'clock, which is y'all got to be up out of here in a few, by 7:45. But they tell you, you don't just pull that like a rabbit out of a hat when you think there are too many Black people in the restaurant that day. I hope the brother, and I like the way he's going about it, very orderly. I hope that he sues. I hope that he gets, here's something ironic though, Roland, real quick. This very restaurant, they tried to shut them down a couple years ago, and they filed for discrimination with the city. They said they had been discriminated against when, for some reason, some zoning reason, they were trying to be shut down. So they know discrimination. They've experienced it, and they have chosen to practice it. And not only shame on them, but with anybody in Orlando, don't go there no more. This is a perfect boycott opportunity.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, and this is one of those things, and let me remind people, y'all have heard me quote this on many occasions. If people would actually go back and read or listen to Dr. King's speech on April 3rd, 1968 at Mason Temple, Dr. King said point blank, we are not going to patronize places that do not respect us. And remember, Dr. King also said, remember he said, Jesse, what did you call it? We're going to we're going to redistribute the pain. So everybody who's listening, I want you to understand what that phrase, redistribute the pain. So, for the black folks who were sitting at that table, who had to suffer the indignity, when you hit them in their pocketbook, and then when you tell other black folks, don't show up here, and then when you force them to apologize, you have now redistributed the pain. So to Julian's point, we talk about lashing out. I get lashing out. I get when you're angry and you're ticked off and you want to jack somebody up. But there are also other times when you sit there and go, y'all don't worry about it, we good, because y'all ass is gonna be paying. Mm-hmm. See, it's real simple. I've dealt with crazy folks at airlines who acted a fool and who get smart with me, like the white woman in Las Vegas at the United Airlines counter, who said, oh, please call the CEO's office. I was like, oh, boo, trust me. I said, oh, boo, trust me. You will be hearing from the CEO's office when I get done with you. Now, I could have showed my ass, but I wanted her to understand, oh, no. You can keep typing on your little computer there, whatever little report you typing up. Trust me, there's going to be a problem on your end when I'm done. Absolutely. And so what's the name of this restaurant again? Let me see. Hold up. What is it again?
DoveCote.
I wrote it down. Yeah, DoveCote.
DoveCote. So DoveCote. So if you're in Orlando, I see no reason why you should drop by DoveCote until Rob. So what's his name? Rob, Bob. What's his name, Carol? Okay, so this is what I want here. So Rob, I know you watching. So Rob, you're gonna need to meet with the 5 of them, and y'all gonna have to come to an agreement. And then Rob, my advice, you're gonna need to come on this show to also explain to black folks then how you gonna fix this problem, how you gonna deal with your son. Because frankly, Rob, if we break this down and the waitress and everybody else start talking, your son should not be managing anywhere near that restaurant. And you need to be dealing with your son in some serious classes on how to actually be a manager. So I can't wait to see what happens next. And we'll be looking forward to it. So again, I want to thank our guest. We're going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about racist Jan Wenner, Rolling Stone. He said he couldn't find no articulate black people talk about music. He need his ass whooped too. We'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach. And on the next Get Wealthy, you'll meet Jandy Turner, who took her love of sports, expanded her network, and created a thriving business.
I settled on developing a golf event planning business, which in and of itself has been very viable for me. One of the things that I've learned from producing hundreds, if not thousands, of golf tournaments is that business gets done on the golf course.
All on The Next Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
On the next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're going to be talking about common sense. We think that people have it, know how to use it, but it is something that people often have to learn. The truth is, most of us are not born with it, and we need to teach common sense, embrace it, and give it to those who need it most, our kids.
So I always tell teachers to listen out to what conversations the students are having about what they're getting from social media, and then let's get ahead of it and have the appropriate conversations with them.
On the next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes. Producer, writer, and activist Drew Dixon joins us for an honest conversation about Black women and trauma, right here on The Frequency on the Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, We're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Carl Payne pretending to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay. All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
If you're wondering, how could some people so-called be down, but then show they some racist assholes? All you gotta do is wait for them to start talking. So the founder of Rolling Stone magazine, considered the Bible of the music industry, Jan Wenner, has a new book coming out where he talks about some of the best musicians of all time. The book is called Masters. It highlights the contributions of only white male artists. Now, Wenner was interviewed in the New York Times about his book. And this is actually what he said to the New York Times. Black and female artists just don't articulate at the level of their white male peers. Now again, the 7 musicians, keep it right there: Bono, Bob Dylan, Jerry Garcia, Mick Jagger, John Lennon, Bruce Springsteen, Peter Townshend. Now, the reason that's interesting, that particular list right there, especially Peter Townshend, because my man got some history. My man got some history. He's with the Who, and he's made some interesting comments, in the past. Go back to that list again. Pull it up. I mean, first of all, he talked about articulate. I don't know about y'all. I don't understand shit that Bob Dylan says. Now I ain't understand anything about this. I don't know what about this now, about so. I don't know how I can call Bob Dylan articulate. Because I'm just letting y'all, hey, maybe it's generational. People talk about the greatness of Bob Dylan. I ain't got a single y'all know how I feel about music. I ain't got a single Bob Dylan song on my phone. Because I don't know what the hell he's saying. So I'm just trying to figure out how Bob Dylan is so damn articulate. That's just me. Well, y'all, things moved real fast against Jan Wenner. First of all, again, this story blew up big time. Folk began to talk about it. Now y'all know Jan issued an apology. It came today. But he was removed from the Rock Hall of Fame leadership after those particular comments. You can go to my iPad right here. And so I'm talking about, y'all, he got removed with the quickness. This was Saturday. Jan Wenner has been removed from the board of directors of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation, the Hall said Saturday, a day after his comments were published in the New York Times. Yep. They were like, yeah, player, you got to go. They said, you got to go. In fact, I want to read the full quote because we only had that quote. I want to read the full thing. So come on, go back to my iPad. So when he was asked why he didn't interview women or black musicians, he said, it's not that they are inarticulate, although go have a deep conversation with Grace Slick or Janis Joplin. Please be my guest. Joni Mitchell was not a philosopher of rock and roll. She didn't, she didn't, in my mind, meet that test. Okay, first of all, you can't go interview Janis Joplin because she did. So we can't. we can't go talk to Janis Joplin because she gone, she dead. So I don't know how we gonna go talk to Janis Joplin. Okay, go back. He goes, of black artists, you know, Stevie Wonder, genius, right? I suppose when you use a word as broad as masters, the fault is using that word. Maybe Marvin Gaye or Curtis Mayfield. I mean, they just don't articulate at that level. So he's saying that a Marvin Gaye or a Curtis Mayfield or even a Stevie Wonder, you couldn't consider them masters of the craft? Okay, back to my iPad. Wenner, through his publisher, apologized. In my interview with the New York Times, I made comments that diminished the contributions, genius, and impact of black and women artists, and I apologize wholeheartedly for those remarks. I totally understand the inflammatory nature and badly chosen words and deeply apologize and accept the consequences. Oh yeah, your ass gonna accept the consequences. See, what folk need to understand, Jan Wenner ran Rolling Stone with an iron fist. All of these artists, they all want to be featured in Rolling Stone. Remember when they put these lists out of the best singers or the top hip hop folks? Then their arguments, how so-and-so on the list? So black folks are arguing over a list that white folks assembled. Really? So what Jan Wenner is really showing you, this is what Jan Wenner has been thinking all this time. All this time. And so you want to write a book called Masters. How in the heck? See, y'all, Rolling Stone named Aretha Franklin as the greatest voice America has ever produced. And you putting a book together called Masters and Aretha not in it? I mean, from her singing to her understanding of music, I mean, Aretha was a total package. But see, now I need people to understand when we talk about music and how other people are determining greatness. See, those of you who are watching, understand something here. Now you begin to understand why you didn't have an appreciation for Little Richard, for Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley. In fact, there was a video I saw. I need to find it. And it was a conversation with Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and Bo Diddley. And Elvis came up. And they were talking about, again, greatness and the music. And folk need to understand why Elvis was called the king of rock and roll. Because you had white folks who were deciding that. And they were not going, even black folk created all of this stuff. They were never going to give black people the credit for them being geniuses. And Jan Wenner makes this comment. Y'all find that clip for me. I'm still looking for it as well. In fact, y'all might have remembered when Little Richard was at the Grammys. And this actually happened at the Grammys in 1988. Watch this.
They take everything I get, they take it from me. He can't get that, though. All right, now. Wait a minute, look at their hair. I used to hide Easter eggs in mine. Look at it.
Now?
Shut up.
The nominees for the Best New Artists are...
Oh, you all sure you want me to say that? I didn't have nothing to say. Y'all thought I wasn't gonna say nothing. And the Best New Artist is... me. I have never received nothing. You all ain't never gave me no Grammy. And I've been singing for years. I am the architect of rock and roll. They never gave me nothing. And I am the originator. And I still say, woo! And the winner is still me. Good morning. I had to get that in. Being a Brian Drew from Georgia, I had to tell it too.
So, the year they actually gave Little Richard a Lifetime Grammy, he wasn't allowed to accept it on stage. I remember that year. I remember taking a shot at Little Richard, and he almost didn't go to the award ceremony. So I'm saying all of this so you could understand Jan Wenner and the BS that he was doing here. And it just speaks volumes on Congo in terms of how they refuse to accept the greatness of black people. And then Jan Wenner writes a book called Masters and only includes white men.
And it's a real good reminder, this Wenner story should be for all of us in terms of how they see us. When you look at, I mean, Rolling Stones founded it in 1967, and when you talk about people like Aretha Franklin and you talk about Stevie Wonder, 25 Grammy Award winning Stevie Wonder, by the way. So we can talk about their artistry, but also their activism and their voice in terms of what they've meant for our people. And one of the other things we have to be mindful of is, how is it that Rolling Stone still stayed at the top when it's also been revealed that Wenner was letting the people that he interviewed edit their own interviews, edit their own stories? You know, Lennon, Mick Jagger, like these different folks. Is that journalistic excellence? So we have to be very mindful of who we're looking for approval for. Do we care more about the Grammys and this or the Image Awards, right? We can't keep looking for other people to evaluate us and rate us at the level that we know that we are at. And I'm thinking about all of the people who should have been inducted into the Hall of Fame who maybe died or didn't get the recognition that they should have because somebody like this man was at the helm. And he's just one of many. You know, he's the story now, but we know that there are many like him. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, when you think about what he said and what he's been able to get away with for so long, this has to be a wake-up call for us to judge ourselves, to respect ourselves, to call our greats the greats as we know them, and not let these other folks control the narrative. And I really would be disappointed if people continue to look at the Rolling Stone as the standard, given this situation and given this story and what else has come out. Because the clearly racist comments that he's made has definitely been part of his Rolling Stones platform over the years. And just to let some black people come in and make some lists that go in his magazine, like you said, Roland, it's not enough. Our reaction to this is going to matter more than what he has done.
But the thing that I'm always talking about is white validation. And frankly, I don't need Jan Wenner to validate black people. But what you're not going to do is say who's inarticulate. This was the Ray Charles interview with Bob Costas where Elvis Presley came up, and Ray Charles is on the money.
He appreciates more different kinds of music than you. That's obvious. But did you feel at the time, in the 50s, early 60s, a resentment of some of the white performers who were copying R&B stuff and selling more records than you and your contemporaries were?
I just didn't object to it. I just felt that the music it wasn't that good to care about. Now, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? But I'm being honest with you.
Maybe some exceptions, though. I mean, Elvis was a talented guy.
Well, okay.
Not necessarily. You know better than I.
Yeah.
Let me ask it differently. How good was Elvis?
What Elvis did, he caused a lot of the populace, if you want to, and usually when people say populace, they usually mean white people, to start listening to a lot of music that normally they wouldn't have been listening to. I guess I'm going to lose at least about a third of my fans right now. But to say that Elvis was so great and so outstanding, like they say, he's the king. I got in trouble because one guy asked me this question and I said the king of what, and he got mad at me. You see, I don't think of Elvis like that because I know too many artists that are far greater than Elvis. I think Elvis person came along at the right time where he was a white kid that could do rock and roll or rhythm and blues or whatever name you want to call it, and the girls could swoon over him. Nat Cole got in trouble in Alabama when the women swooned over him. Got put out of town. And black people have been going out shaking their behind for centuries. And what the hell's unusual about that shaking their hips and stuff? And that's all Elvis was doing, was copying that. And he was doing our kind of music. He was doing the Willie Mae Thornton, Jailhouse Rock. That's black music. So what the hell am I supposed to get so excited about, man? But I think all this stuff about saying he's the king and he's the... it's a piece of bunk. Sorry. Next question. Don't ask me no more about Elvis because I've gotten enough trouble as it is.
I think you covered it, though. I don't think a follow-up is necessary.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
No lies told there, Julian.
Hey, that was a great, Ray Charles, very inarticulate, if you will, Jan Wenner. He laid it out with something we all know, talked about the black community, just like Little Richard, all the time, about how our music has been copied. They get the awards, and we don't get the recognition. But I'm with you, Roland. Who gives a you-know-what about what white people think and how white people feel and who they're rating as the greatest? We know what the greatest is, and the record sales often reflect that. You don't see a lot of record sales for some of these pretenders and others. Jan Wenner, however, what the comment he made to the New York Times really does speak to where he's been coming from all this time. As you say, he ruled Rolling Stone with an iron fist. He determined which writers were published. He determined who was interviewed. He chose who to lift up and who to ignore. And now he's telling us why. Because he didn't think much of black people or women. Now, white women need to have something to say about this as well, because how dare he, kind of put down these white women who I happen to think of as relative icons. Again, Aretha be my goat. So many others. Nina Simone, my goat. Of course, that's not rock and roll, but that's just truth and truth. But in any case, he's shown us who he is. And Doc Meyer always says, when people tell you who they are, believe them. And so the Rock and Roll Foundation acted appropriately and swiftly, and he does not need to be associated with anything that has anything to do with rock and roll. I don't believe in cancel culture, but I believe in silencing fools, and he has proven himself to be a fool.
Before I get this final comment, I did find the clip. This is Bo Diddley, Little Richard, and Chuck Berry. And if you thought Ray Charles was lit, check these three guys out.
You know the only song that I ever tried to sing of his is Maybelline. I get first the Cadillac up on the hill and then you let it go on up the hill by itself. No, it went. We came along, the whole thing changed. All of a sudden we became a no-no. What is this? This is devil music.
Well, I say this. It was still a little Jewish boy that got it over the country with Alan Freed, my favorite brother. He still got it over the country, and he did a good job. I love you, Alan.
See, because it wasn't anything that we were doing so wrong. It was just that people were so slow to accept change.
You was black.
Tell him again. Will you tell him, man, again?
You was black, and they didn't want that black image over their kids. You was a hero.
Well, see, but
and your kids was looking up to you, and they didn't want their kids looking up at
What kids?
They didn't want the white kids looking up at this big old greasy black guy out of Georgia, out of Mississippi, or out of Chicago. They want their kids to see a little smooth white boy looking pretty and on duty and looking Rudy, you know. And so here's a black guy out there singing and screaming and beaming and screaming. They said, no, no, no.
The thing here, Renita, is very simple. Again, it is the denial of the greatness of African Americans. And then when you put it in a book form, then it becomes, it's Jan Wenner, then it becomes the ultimate voice.
Right. It's total erasure. And the comments that you brought up were exactly what I was thinking about, which is why it's so important for us to tell our history, because it is an indisputable fact that Black people created rock and roll. Now, we can argue about exactly who came first and who gets the credit of being the actual creator, but it is well
Black people.
Sister, but I'm saying three people specific, like no matter how you slice it, it's Black folks. Because Sister Rosetta Tharpe, who sang gospel music, was the first person to come along with an electric guitar and play those types of chords, which led to Little Richard being able to play those types of chords and putting it to secular music. And then along came Chuck Berry. So we can argue about which one of them are the creator, but any way you slice it, it's still Black folks. And so this stuff matters because even in the list of people that he is saying that he interviewed for his book that is about rock and roll, those people even give credit to Black artists for starting it. Mick Jagger talks about the influence that Little Richard had on his career. And so this stuff does matter. No, white validation does not matter, but it matters when it turns into money and resources. I was just telling a friend this weekend that it is a sad, sad fact that Elvis and Pat Boone actually made more money off of covering Tutti Frutti than Little Richard did. And that's insane because many people may not know the voice of Pat Boone, but people know what Elvis sounds like and they know what Little Richard sounds like. Now you just imagine the song Tutti Frutti as we all know it with Little Richard singing it, the creator of that, and you imagine Elvis singing that, and there's absolutely no comparison. But those two made more money than he did. And so this type of erasure is just completely wrong. And I just think that his comments were so disgusting looking at the history of where rock and roll came from.
And you're absolutely right. All right, folks, that is it. I appreciate it, Julian, Amakongo, as well as Renita. Thank you so very much. Folks, do me a favor. Be sure if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, folks. Again, that impacts the algorithm, so we appreciate if y'all do that. Support us in what we do. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You can also, of course, send your check and money orders to support us. Send your check money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And of course, be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide. Download the audio version on Audible. Folks, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Have a great one. Holla! Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.